92% of households that join Peloton early in the year are still active a year later.
Yeah, if you like cycling to EDM.
Not just EDM. Try cycling to Broadway hits, take a scenic hike in Iceland on our treadmill, or row to some 80s jams.
Because I have so much free time.
Whether you have 30 minutes or just 5, Peloton can fit any schedule. 92% stick with it. So can you. Try Peloton tread, row, or bikes risk-free with a 30-day home trial. New members only. Not available in remote locations. See additional terms at onepeloton.com/home-trial.
Well, here we go. This is the first of the first podcast I've recorded with the remote setup. And so there might be a little bit of technical difficulties. It might not sound as good as when we do it here in the studio. But yeah, I was out in Austin, Texas, and I recorded this episode with Billy Milano, who you might know from SOD and MOD fame, one of the originators and godfathers of crossover and thrash music. But yeah, we recorded that over at his house in Austin. And so, like I said, I was using my new mobile setup. So it might sound a little different than the studio, but just bear with me. I'll get that dialed in as time goes on. And before we get into today's episode, just make sure you do a couple things for me here. Share the show. Share it with your friends, family, coworkers. Share it on whatever platform you listen to it on. Make sure you leave a review. Leave 5 stars or, whatever it is, however you can. If you write out a review on Apple, I'll make sure I read it on the air. If you give us a good 5-star review, give you a shout out and read the review. There's a bunch already on there. I'm not going to go in the past and do that, but I'll do it all for any future one starting this summer. Sorry, man. This drink is going down hard. But also, if you can't, go over to patreon.com/bigtruth. Again, patreon.com/bigtruth. And if you feel so inclined to financially support the show, when you go over there, you'll see 4 different levels you can subscribe to. Each have their own, particular benefits and exclusive things. But the Patreon subscribers is a good community of listeners. You get access to shows, early access to the episodes. You also get bonus episodes. I got a couple in the works right now. You'll also get some exclusive things. When I have music guests, sometimes we'll be able to get some advanced tracks before they're released and put those up just for the subscribers. Some behind the scenes stuff. If I know who's coming on ahead of time, I post it up and let you send in questions so that I'll make sure I ask that guest. It's just a way to get you guys more involved. And then it's also a way to financially support the show so we can keep it going and growing. But yeah, go over to patreon.com/bigtruth and check that out. If you're not sure how to share the podcast, just share the link to www.bigtruthpodcast.com. And without further ado, let's get right into it today.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
All right, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And we're stoked to be broadcasting live from the residence of the one and only Billy Milano, now an Austin, Texas resident. Hello, what's up? Austin, how long you been in Austin for?
18 years.
18 years. We got Johnny Rio in the house. Sean Haynes again in the house, and Heather, I don't know your last name. Thomas in the house. So you might hear some commentary from the Peanut Gallery every now and then. And we're on the mobile unit, so the sound quality might not be as good as the studio, but it's still gonna sound all right. But yeah, man, we just had good barbecue from, what was it from? Terry Black.
Oh, yeah.
So we're all moving a little bit slow. So the podcast might start out a little slow, and then we'll pick up pace as we start to turtle pace now, and then as we start to whatever you call that,
when your enzymes break everything down. Digest. Once we start to digest, we'll go. And we're washing it down with some Lone Star in the true Texas fashion.
Lone Star, dude.
Lone Star, dude. What's that from? I don't know. So Bill, what's going on, man? What are you up to in Austin these days?
Well, life is weird at this age now. We're getting old. I do a lot of different things. When it comes to music, I have several things that I'm working on. And when it comes to life, I have things I concentrate on. But right now, as far as just being in Austin, I'm working mainly on my solo stuff.
Yep.
So I have a solo project I've been working on for quite some time. I started it when my dog Buster got sick, and I was just like, I had to stay home with him because I knew it was coming.
Yes.
And so, my dogs are everywhere in my life. But I remember writing this song, and it wound up being a ballad, like a punk rock ballad for my dogs and my mom and my family. So this weird thing happened so many years ago, and it turned into something I just would have never thought I would have got there. But, I have a solo project that I'm really focused on. And as of today, I think he's his third day in the studio. We've been working on getting some things straightened out with tempos, with Mike Fury, who plays not only with... What's the name of that band?
True Intentions.
True Intentions, right. But he also plays with In Disgust. And Mike plays with Will to Live. And of course, he's the hammer behind Spirit Adrift. And Mike's been playing with me for quite some time, probably 10 years. And we've gone around the world quite a bit together. Me and him always did the driving together. That was the one thing. Everyone flew up to New York. We're like, okay, you want? He's like, wait, I'm driving. We'll drive.
Yeah.
And we get in the car with the dogs and drive everywhere. We went everywhere in that van I had.
Yeah.
But, so we're right now working on something for MOD. We're recording. And he started today. We finally got it dialed in to the point that I think the tempos and everything are cool. And I'm like, oh my God. And I started working on this stuff in 2005. Now, this is a weird story. I started working on this recording for MOD in 2005. I wrote these songs with Scott Sargent, who was in Las Rock and has been with MOD forever. And Lennon Lopez, who played drums in Sight. He played also. He's out with Cavalera right now, I believe. So he's one of the Cavalera crew.
Yep.
Lennon Lopez. And I have this recording I did with me on bass, Lennon on drums, and Scott on guitar. And he's like, this was the comment in 2005. Oh, it sounds so old. I'm like, that's the point, man. I'm telling you. It eventually is going to come back, this old school smooth.
Yeah.
And when it started to come back, it was about 2007 it started to really happen again. Where a couple of bands here and there started to come out and sound old. And then we hit a couple big pops on it about 2014 or 15. And I had this done in 2004, and now I'm doing it now, and I'm like, I wanted to do it then. Now I'm Johnny Come Lately. And I fucking started this shit practically. It totally fucks me. But I listened to my friends and they fucked me. I'll play it for you later.
Yeah, no, so you wrote the songs back then, 2005, and now you guys are still working on it. Have you written new material since then as well? Is some of the stuff like even newer than that? Or is that whole project?
There is one song I did. Now, here's the funny thing. I did a record back... I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I don't know, called Busted Broken American, which is a fucking great record. And it got literally squashed because it was so anti-New World Order. I was getting hate mail. They're like, dude, you're a Trumper. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. But that's the weird thing, right? Is as soon as you say something that's not in the mainstream, the only way people can attack you is to label you a Trumper, even if you're not. Like, you know what I mean?
It means nothing to me. Fuck them.
Yeah.
I said, fuck them. But the reality of it is this. I was kind of ahead of the curve in the beginning. And now on some of this stuff, my production came into its own stylized writing. I mean, the record itself is remarkable. It's the best record I ever done in my life. There's no denying it. But there was a song on there that was just, I couldn't really see it fitting on the record. It was too much Metallica.
Yeah.
You know, it was like that very West Coast vibe. And it's called 1985. So it's written in the feel of 1985, like that stuff I wrote.
Yeah.
But it's a newer song than
Like 85 Metal Blade type.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like Terry Date on drums, big do 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 do. Really fucking simple, punchy, choppy stuff, but really just, also that West Coast gallop. Yeah, it's just this one song that I couldn't figure it out why it didn't fit. And then I realized it just felt too modern. But it did feel like that era. And so I took it off the Busted Broken American record session and just forgot about it. Now I'm cleaning up my computer and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I have like more recordings, like riffs I did. And I hit this fucking button and I'm like, wow, this is badass. I'm like, wait a minute, this is that song. Yeah. But the old version of it was just more like a hardcore version and not as much as trying to be a punk version. I morphed it a bit. And I found the original version of it. And I was like, wait a minute, that's pretty fucking badass, man. And so only one modern song on there was added to the original 4.
Yeah.
But they all fit in a kind of motif way.
Yeah.
Where there's a specific feel, and it's specifically called 1985. So it's like Detroit Rock City. But there's only one song we wrote, and it's just an EP.
So when it's got like an 85 feel, like kind of like is it like where the intersection of like punk and metal, like where there was kind of like the crossover times where like you can hear in some like the old like even like some of the old black metal, you can tell they were listening to like Discharge and
Sure, of course.
Yeah, because it's got that little bit of a drive. Is it something in that type of vein, or is it?
I think what it is more of a visual of a specific, an understanding of a specific time period in the Bay Area where it was like Slayer, Show No Mercy, and there was Hell Awaits, and it was like Exodus Bonded by Blood, and there was like Heathen, and there was Metallica, and there was all those old bands that played in that era.
Violence,
even older than that. The era at the very beginning when no one was really playing, like Exodus was playing in the very beginning. Kirk Hammett came from Exodus and went into Metallica. So you had Exodus playing, and you had the very beginning of Testament happening in 86. But you had Metallica, you had Megadeth playing, Killing Is My Business. They had a whole vibe. And again, Heathen was playing. You had a whole vibe of this California Bay Area. Diamond Head was playing when it was like this kind of like skippy kind of like triplet kind of California feel. And specifically there was that feel with Slayer where it was just like a driving feel where it's just like do do da do 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 da do do do, where it has a very primitive feel, and it's not like something trying to be anything more than driving. It's just it has some kind of simplicity to it that made it feel foreboding. Sure. You're like, wow, it's Slayer's early stuff. It felt really dark.
Yeah,
but it also felt
even the way things were recorded. Added to that, ambiance of that, the way the recording style of that time.
Yeah, it was really simple. They knew how to use a specific thing, which was reverb.
Yeah,
and it was on everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I know that.
Drums
they had reverb on reverbs and gates on snares and reverbs. I was like, what the fuck? They mic'd everything.
Yeah.
It was when there was art involved with it, and of course we had fun.
Yeah, no, and you'd spend a day of just setting up and getting sounds. You wouldn't even record something yet. You just get everything set up.
I think that was one of the things that I remember. So I remember doing that SOD record, and after one day, because I went to the bar their first day of recording, I went to the bar and I had to eat 12 plates of clams. 12 plates of a dozen.
That's how you got ready to record.
Steamed clams. So now I'm in my hotel room and I'm drunk and I ate probably 144 clams. And my shit's coming out like fucking pigeon shit. It's just a long stream of green-gray goo. But my farts are literally laying the room to waste. And out of nowhere, the door opens up probably 3 in the morning or 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm drunk sleeping. And then Scotty walks in and I'm like, dude. He goes, hey. I'm like, what's up? He goes, hey, we're done. I'm like, you're done what? How much did you get done? All of it. You mean all of it? You mean the drums? He goes, no, all of it. You start tomorrow. So now I gotta sing. I never even heard this music. And he's like, sing like this! And that's how he's telling me how to sing. I said, you want me to sound like this? He goes, no, use your voice. But I'm singing now, and I'm just winging through it. And I'll never forget.
So were you writing in the studio? Like listening
we pretty much did it all together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like there was things that I said, look, I'm not singing that stupid.
Yeah.
It was Monster Mosh instead of Milano Mosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going Monster Mosh.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's totally lame.
Yeah.
But it was what it was. It was a cool time.
Yeah, no, because you had said you hadn't heard all the music yet, so it was like...
I heard any of it. I heard a couple of things on cassette.
Yeah, no, so like, were you guys writing the lyrics like in real time and then...
No, they had a lot of it done. I give them a lot. I wrote 2 songs.
Okay.
So I wrote Pi Alpha Nu and No Turning Back.
Okay.
And then we just kind of, they had everything dialed in already. And it was just a remarkable situation. It was incredible.
Let's back it up a little bit. Like, how did SOD even come about? I know you were in the New York hardcore scene for a long time and working CBs and with Psychos and all that stuff. But how did you even get into all this stuff? Like first, like what got you into like punk and hardcore and metal?
Oh. Okay, you're a dick. So if I have to go back to the very beginning of going into the punk music scene, it was because of Rob Kabula. So Rob Kabula, who was the bass player of Agnostic Front, was playing in a band called the Hinckley's Fan Club at the time. And we were from Jersey, and he was my high school friend. And I remember him saying, Bill, you should come to the city. The Ramones are going to play. And we got on the bus, and we're 16 years old, and we went to Central Park. And the Ramones played Central Park, and it was awesome. Then we started to drive downtown to an area called Alphabet City, which is Avenue A and 7th Street, Avenue A and 8th Street and 9th Street, Tompkins Square Park, where they do all the benefits for rabies. The Black and Blue Productions always representing everybody. That area was remarkably dangerous, and we were so naive to it, but because we were naive to it, we looked like we belonged there. So no one ever really beefed out on it. And it was kind of shitty, and it was kind of arty. It was very gritty. It had a very, Martin Scorsese feel, Taxi Driver. The Deuce was gnarly. The Lower East Side was fucking gnarly. Tompkins Square Park got fucking crunk. Alphabet City was really deep. And it didn't go over well when you walked into the deeper neighborhoods white. But there was just something comforting about being down there because it was so unique and real. I felt like every time I turned around, there would be a catalyst to something potentially amazing, and I wanted to see it. I wanted to be there. And then people that I were meeting was incredible. Now these are just normal people, with mohawks and skinheads and punk rockers, and some guys they got pierced this, and then you got, you know, scars on them, and they smell. And okay, this is totally cool. Just don't eat sit next to you. I'm eating. Things like that. It became a petri dish of experience where I was just sitting there watching this transform. Kabula brought me down there. I'll never forget, I walked into the club A7. It was on the side street of Avenue A and 7th Street where New York hardcore was born. And the band playing was Heart Attack. So this is an old New York hardcore band called Heart Attack. And they're fucking raging, and we go up in these little stairs, and I'm like, holy shit, the door's like this wide, you gotta sneak in. They're like, come on in, dude, it's $5. And we get in for $5 from Victor, and there's a little DJ booth there, and there's a Fender Twin up on the wall for the PA, and the band's playing these, and they're all moshing in this room that's, you know, twice as big as this whole thing.
Much bigger, yeah.
No, you've been in there?
I've been there, yeah.
We were moshing in there. We were knocking people's teeth out. I mean, half of the people, the inside guys, we didn't put our back and hold people back from the band when they played, because there was a drum riser for the drummer, there was the PA on the wall, your amps were on the ground, the guitars played and bass played on the ground, there was no drum riser for them, and we played facing the crowd for them, and we'd push people the fuck out of there, because if you turn your back to them and they're moshing, you're getting hurt, and your fucking guitar is getting pounded. But I saw some amazing shows in there. One of them was Heart Attack, and that was the very first show after that, I was like, man, I want to do something, man. I don't know what it is I want to do. Let's go somewhere and do something. Yeah. It really opened my mind up to what live music was. And I was never really a fan, of anything super heavy. And I did like it, but I liked like Led Zeppelin, and I liked the Beatles and Chicago and Paul McCartney and that kind of stuff. And I liked all that stuff, you know, Earth, Wind and Fire and Motown, all that shit. But my whole thing was, I wasn't really into like rebellious anything. You know, I came out of 11 kids. Music really took me to a different thought process. And that's how punk really took hold of me. I saw variety and interest in people and people watching this thing develop. It was remarkable. It was a remarkable experience.
Yeah. And there was something different, right? Back those days, like the 80s, like when everything was just more dangerous and more interesting. Like, even with us, like, you know, going down, like there's been shows where we went to shows at like Green Street Station in the middle 80s, you know, mid to late 80s, and you know, you'd have to walk through the projects and people throwing bricks at you because you had shaved heads and everyone thought you were like Nazis because that's when all the, you know, the Geraldos and all that shit was popping off. So, right. You know, just crazy shit like that. But like, I remember going to New York, going to CB's, like taking the bus there when we were like 15, 16, and just the adventure of getting to CB's, you know, through the neighborhoods and stuff was always, that was half of the fun, you know what I mean? Because the same thing, and you hit on it, and I never thought, you know, we were naive to like how dangerous the situation really was, and then you got in and you kind of saw it, but you didn't really understand how bad things could fucking pop off.
You didn't know that you could get. You didn't know you already disappeared. You didn't know you can get murdered just for being fucking you. Yeah. Like when there's no denying now that we're in a society that has been so polarized that it is a racist society where people can kill you for being white. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's the way it's always been. And it's just like there's always been black on black crime. It's ridiculous the amount of ignorance that is permeating in our streets. However, when we were walking around back then, we didn't even see it, and it was right next to us. You know, we didn't give a fuck. They look at you like, you cracker motherfucker. You're like, what's up, dude? You didn't know. No one really had beef. Yeah. It was just interesting how much of it was apparent and was really there. Now that I'm older and I understood some of those memories differently, they're weird. But
it was a weird time.
totally unique
And
time.
New York was still in kind of just such a state of decay back then.
Totally.
Like there wasn't like you could still people, Roger and squatting, that the big squats and all that. Imagine that now trying to squat somewhere in fucking New York.
I stayed in Avenue C, and this Avenue C that was 11th and 11. It was 11th and C, which is where the squat was.
Yeah.
And that squat back then was on Avenue C and 11th Street. Today it's the East Village, and that squad cost you $400,000 for an apartment.
Yeah.
In that same building we lived in for free. Yeah. And Roger Barrett went and wired everybody's building up for free electrical. And he had he had the best apartment in a squad I've ever seen. Roger from the Gnostic Front. Yeah. He had an apartment, a squad that was literally like 3 bedrooms, huge kitchen, and he did everything himself. And I was like, man, this is dope. Right? And we had power upstairs. I was upstairs with the Psychos a couple times. We were above Cro-Mags. I was there for like fucking 2 weeks. I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm on a shower, man.
All the bands started with you. What was your favorite band? Like, what was the band that you looked to and said?
In that hardcore scene?
Yeah, when you were first coming around.
Oh. So back then, the bands that were really starting to play a lot were The Abused.
Yeah.
Heart Attack was playing. I think The Undead was still playing. Bobby Steele was a little bit of that. There was Urban Waste, who were awesome.
They're still around?
I have no idea. Randy Underwood is the guy to talk to.
No, they still play.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not the full, obviously.
Brother man, I hear you. Yeah. But there was bands like that, and then there was Damaged. Nausea was playing back then.
Oh yeah.
Hold on a second. There was a bunch of bands.
What stuck out to you and resonated with you, like that made you want to be like, all right, I want to do this? Was that the Heart Attack show?
I mean, there was something about walking into that room the first day. I was like, I couldn't physically process the amount of anxiety I was getting. So I'm going like, run, run, reindeer, do. I grew up with the Beach Boys in Chicago. I mean, I still listen to Motown and Lou Rawls and Earth, Wind and Fire. Man, I love Casey and the Sunshine Band. And then these motherfuckers like, bang! I mean, I keep waiting for someone to walk in with a fucking machine gun and look around and see if something's happening. What was that, motherfucker?
You introduced melody to it, kind of. You enjoyed more of a melodic approach.
Well, my whole thing was, with me, I was always a hardcore punk. See, I never grew up like listening to the Pistols. This is the next thing from the Pistols. But I loved all of it post. When it came to like 1980 after high school. But we were listening to it in high school. Ramones, Pistols, The Jam. We were listening to a lot of reggae at the time. Bob Marley and the Wailers was playing a lot. The Specials. All those things were part of that whole punk rock thought, where it became more hardcore and thuggish, whereas like more rigid and more aggro. Which is still cool. There's a lot of stuff that's great that's like that. But there's a lot of melody in its own right to stuff that's done. Even like, look at anything Sick of It All does. Yeah. Look at anything Biohazard did. I mean, there's a lot of, and I give Biohazard a lot of credit. There was a lot of melody in Biohazard that was done in the same way I was doing it. One guy scream, I was up there screaming and holding it. And then I would be like, I never did the rap thing. I did it as a joke for one song, but I never really did that. But there was definitely a lot of melody involved with it because it just felt more... I like to have multiple textures when I paint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't want to limit myself. I've never tried to say, oh, this is going to be good for my career. I don't give a fuck. You know, I do what I want to do. But I love music, and I also love the Beach Boys. You know what I'm saying? That's all melody. So how could you not feel it in your soul if you love it like that much?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a whole experiential thing, man. It's not just, you're not just writing words. It sounds like you're tapping into like feelings or moods you get from something.
Well, some of the stuff. Look, when I look at my solo stuff and I look at the MOD stuff, two totally different consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, MOD has always been about breaking balls.
Yeah.
Like, I like to know. There you go, old man. I like to know. I'll take one of them, Shawnee. They're in the freezer.
Yep. All right.
Just leave them on the counter.
There's some extra shot. I'll grab one too.
Yep.
How many you got in there?
Two of the freezers. There's gotta be some more.
Yeah, they're down in the fridge.
I'll take one of the fridge ones too.
There you go.
Cheers, mate. Take it there, brother. Thank you, thank you, Short. I'll take it. Thanks, brother.
This is like a whole setup. It's usually just me and the guy in the shop. So it's like fun having friends and stuff around in the bed.
Yeah, like there's the difference between like the things that I've done, the passions that I've done. I love going and sharing the experience of doing MOD. Like people just say to me, "What's the difference between MOD and SOD?" And I'm always like, "Oh, there's a huge difference. The perspectives of each person is accounted for with MOD, where really is SOD is more." It's more ruled by greed. You know what I'm saying? And I don't subscribe to that. Where MOD has always been like, oh, you know, this is going to be fun. Let's have some of it. You know, share a little bit of it. And I went on to did that tour right there. I brought a friend of mine from Austin, Texas. There's a book up there. And I brought him from, he's like, oh, I've never been to Europe. I'm like, you want to come take pictures? And he's like, all right. And he came out on the road. He did some stuff. He got sick a couple of days, but he did that whole book out of nowhere for me. And I'm like, dude, what did you do this book for? He's like, because that was the most amazing thing I ever did. And that book right there is like one of my gems. That's my corner right there.
Yeah.
But the punk rock stuff was always something I've always felt was different. It's just like me with my band MOD. It's always been about more of an experience and what we're going to share together in that experience. I don't like going out with like hired guns.
Yeah.
You know, I guarantee you're not going to stay with it because I'm not going to stay with it.
Yeah.
I only do it intermittently.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it forever. I'm too fucking old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go on stage. The next thing you know, there's going to be like my rider's not going to be on stage. Where the fuck are my prunes? I asked for prunes. Are there prunes? There's no prunes. Where are my prunes? We have a contract. I have prunes on my contract. You agreed. Where are my prunes? Get him his fucking prunes. You know what I'm saying? It's coming. I'm eventually going to be an old Jew at the end. But it is coming.
Yeah.
But life was good. I mean, music was fun. Punk. MOD was definitely more punk. But there was so many great punk rock bands in New York City. You had even Johnny Thunders playing.
Yeah.
There was that whole thing like that. The New York Dolls were playing. You had bands that I used to listen to, like, you got to take like UK Subs. They were coming out. They were fucking great.
Dude, the shit that you guys were doing was offending and pissing people off more than anybody. And I think for a kid that grew up around that time, like there wasn't a lot of bands that did that. And I gotta know, was that intentional?
Fuck yeah.
That's what you just said. It was all about busting balls.
Yeah, it was just
busting balls.
like, was it intentional? Like, I got the song idea, but I'm gonna elevate it.
Listen,
more fucking.
Here's the thing, all right, about life. No one truly gives a fuck. No one should be able to say that's offensive, but they should be able to say, hey, I'm offended. Big difference. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I mean, being politically correct and being around me maybe don't bode well together. But I'm also very respectful to it, and I love watching the panic of people when they don't get me like rised. I'm like, it's very simple. There is a truth to life, and it's to not take it so serious or yourself.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been moments where I'm like, all right, I'm really gonna.
I remember seeing that shit in the fucking 80s and 90s and being like, dude, this. I can only imagine by today's standard.
Well, that's different. But yeah, in the 80s and 90s. But I think we understood. I think intrinsically, I was because I remember people well, those guys, that ain't cool. I was like, that dude's fucking around. I remember saying that. That dude just busted balls, they're fucking around. I was like, it's funny, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I was like, there's no way this is serious, right? And but people took it you must have laughed your ass off when people took it super serious.
That's the shit I always wanted to know about you.
Well, here's the thing. Immediately there was a huge backlash, and I was like, look, first of all, this song is based on USA for MOD, what it says niggers in the song. That song literally is based off of a story about Bob Geldof's one of his employees for that festival they did called. Give me a second, I'm old.
USA for Africa?
Yeah, USA for Africa, thank you. And they took, Live Aid, I think they called it. And they took a 10% commission for the festival.
Yeah.
For the work.
Yeah.
Now, the festival raised $2 billion.
Yeah.
Now, this is a benefit. Who the fuck has the right to take $200 million for a commission?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I thought people volunteered things.
Yeah.
And you can bet your ass they all sat there like this. Oh, this is great.
I don't Mondays wasn't pulling in royalties like that.
I hear you. Yeah, right. But I remember the story was this. There was a journalist over there that used to write for some kind of version of Maximum Rock and Roll. Remember Maximum Rock and Roll? Timmy O'Hanlon? Yeah. There was a guy over there, but he was more of an ambush journalist kind of guy. And he caught this guy talking shit that worked for Live Aid. And he's like this, no one cares about niggas anyway. We should have just kept the money and let them die of thirst. No one cares. No, I don't know the temperament of the conversation. I don't know the sarcasm. I don't know the situation. I never saw him say it. But this was one of those things that was in these magazines, in these underground papers where it was alleged that this guy said it representing that company. Now, here's the thing. Let's say they got begged for real for doing it, taking 10%. Let's say they have to give back, half of it. You're talking 100 million pounds, right? Money. But you're also talking the British monarchy giving back 50 or 60 million pounds. And they're not going to do it. And so it was just very telling that people went after the word, not the story. And it was a big story back then. It was a guy talking shit.
Yeah. They're going to prosecute you because they think you're saying something racist where you're talking about how fucked up
all I did was quote a guy that worked for Bob Geldof, And then the song AIDS. So the song AIDS was another big one.
That was a big one that I remember talking about. That was a little bit of a story.
That thing was basically...
That stood the test of time.
That song basically was written by listening to Sam Kinison and Andrew Dice Clay, and it was an amalgamation of their rhetoric. But here's the thing: the way it's sang, if you took it serious, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
it's like opera joke. We're just taking a piss. But people were always very douchey about it, and this is what it went from this. Look, I'm sorry. Would you like to apologize? No. Now it's like this. They're like, would you like to apologize? No. It's a different kind of no now.
Yeah. What was some of the craziest stuff that happened? Because that when that record came out, it was. The controversy around it, but people loved it. So, what was it like on the road? Was there haters and was there
we had protests. We had protests in Canada where the lesbians protested me, and that was okay. I went out and joined with them. I said, can we protest burning trees down? They're like, no, we're here to protest Billy Milano. He's a bigot. I'm like, kill him! Kill him! And I'm screaming, walking with them, you're a bigot! And I'm in there with the protest sign. So it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, get the bastard!
So did actual
There's a picture of that online. Billy Milano photographed with protesters in Canada. It's online.
But I imagine at the same token, the actual shitty people would probably piss you off too, right? Like the
Well, everyone pisses me off.
fucking.
I don't like anybody. It's easier to keep a blanket statement open.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're a dick, you're a dick. It ain't about hating. But it was funny about the shit that they did. I didn't even really... Originally, when we did that record, it was a continuation of SOD. Some things were done were SOD. Some of the stuff I brought to that record was a second record for SOD, which was going to be called USA for SOD. And I got hooked up with these other guys from Guitar Center, Sam Ash on Route 4 in New Jersey. And I was like, man, these guys are, they're weird. They're kids. They play a little weird. They're not really hardcore metal dudes. It's like punk rock, Misfits kind of stuff.
Yeah, the one dudes had a double lock.
Yeah. And they wound up playing on the first record, and it was just, I was like, whatever. Wasn't really happy with everybody, but I wasn't happy in the situation because I got kind of forced into it with MOD, with that record from the record label. But it was always...
Oh, it was like a contract thing?
Yes, exactly. It was an option. They're like, you're always an option. And I didn't like the guys in SOD after 3 days. So we did 3 shows, and I'm like, you know what? You guys are dicks. And that's what it took me to hate Scotty and Charlie Benante. 3 shows where I went like this. You people suck. I already see you people are douchebags. I don't really want to have anything to fucking do with you. Hey, you want to do more shows? No. I was at that point. When I say no, now, it's very succinct. It's very simple like this, watch. No. That's it. I'm that quick to be, you cannot convince me. It's like build a car's on fire, it's filled with dynamite. Do you want to leave? No. It's over. Let me blow up. Just get the fuck out. You're gonna survive. Yeah. Good for you.
So that probably answers one of the Patreon questions from a guy in New Jersey. Actually, he was like, "Is there going to be any chance of an SOD reunion?"
No, I mean no.
Well, you didn't. You upset me there. You should have said no the same way you just been saying no. Okay, yeah. All right. There we go.
See, the whole thing was this. We tried a couple of times, and it always turns into this. They use a group of people that I'm not comfortable with my business or my money, and I'll leave it at that. Okay. And so by doing that, where it's strictly a business decision and not personal, well, I'm not one of those guys. Like those guys, they're very comfortable. Here, let's back that up. The people in that band who are in Anthrax are extremely comfortable being public knowledge that they're not friends. And they work together strictly for the business. And the truth is this. No. That's not hardcore to me.
Yeah.
But that's also disingenuine, period. And that's more importantly, it's just cold. It's something you don't ever admit to your fans. I hate to be Mr. Virtue Single, but the truth is, it almost feels like a slight, intentionally. They're just saying, "Hey, everyone knows we're phonies, so shut the fuck up and pay us because we're really good at being phony." And that doesn't work in the New York hardcore movement. When I was in the New York hardcore movement scene, and I was standing there in the crowd watching these guys play, getting elbowed, kicked, punched, knocked down. You know what I'm saying? I said to myself, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get hit in the balls anymore with someone's foot as I got knocked down. So I want to get out of the pit and on the stage. It was a different vibe. And it was a different motive. It was something pure to wanting to be in New York hardcore. And back in the day, it was nothing but, I don't know, good intentions.
Yeah.
I would think. But being on the road with those guys 3 days was just. I'm a different group of people. Imagine, you think about people. Think about how the most different people you can put in a car. And then they have to go out on the road. You're like, I don't want to sit in a fucking car with this guy.
Yeah.
I don't care who he is. He smells. I don't know. He's different than me. I don't like his beard. Fuck his beard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So how did you even get involved in, like, how did SOD come about?
So like those guys were hanging out at CBGB's and we were playing with a Gnostic Front. I played bass in the Psychos. And these guys want to beat the shit out of them because they have long hair. And I'm saying to myself, that sucks.
Yeah.
That they're going to beat him up. You might as well just say, hey, get the nigga. It's the same thing. You're going to beat up a guy for long hair. It's a stupid thought just by itself.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I don't think I would let that happen. And I kind of like advocated with them. I went to the main guys that were going to beat them up. And I'm like, look, you're really going to beat those guys up for having long hair? That sucks. You make us look bad. You make the club look bad. You make, Hilly look bad and Hilly and Karen Crystal, who own CBGB's. You make them look bad we need a place, we need this club. Why would you jeopardize it for beating up people with long hair? And so basically we asked them, look, if you could leave, that'd be great. We know there's no colors involved. No one's going to do nothing stupid. And pretty much everyone just calmed down and went about their business. And by the time we were all outside and they were calm, people were already forgotten about it. And they were already back in the club, the guys from Long Island. And everyone was cool again.
So you're responsible for crossover because you were the guy that let metal guys into the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
It's you. It all comes down to you.
It's my fault. Here's the thing. I was playing bass with the Psychos, and I'll never forget it. We ended with the Psychos. We ended with Summertime Blues by Blue Cheer. And who's standing in front of me headbanging? Cliff Burton is watching me play Summertime Blues on my bass. Ooh. And he's headbanging in the crowd like this in bell bottoms. Now, when we finish, he claps, he goes back to the bar. I'm breaking my gear down. Everyone goes outside. He comes up to me, goes, hey man, that was badass, man. That was hella cool. I'm like, thank a lot. He introduced himself. I said, Billy. He goes, man, you're a good bass player. I'm like, nah, I'm just having a good time. I just want to have fun. He goes, and that's what makes you a good bass player.
Yeah.
Because you did it for the right motives. Yeah. And then, Nasser Front played, and everyone is fucking hanging out jamming in the mosh pit. And in the back of the mosh pit, there's this blonde hair, and it's James Hetfield like this, headbanging in the back of the crowd. And I'm saying to myself, yo, I walk up to him, yo. He goes, what's up? He's like shaking. I'm a big dude. Back then I was 280. Yeah. I was strong. I was lifted and skinny. And I go, hey dude, you want to go on my shoulders? He goes, what? I go, you want a chicken fight? And I go up to my friend Big Charlie. I'm like, chicken fights. I grabbed James Hetfield by his hip. He was like 92 pounds. It was like picking up fucking, Miley Ray Cyrus when she was 14, a stick. I picked him up and put him on my shoulders, and I went into the mosh pit with James Hetfield on my shoulders, and I moshed around the mosh pit with him. And there was a couple other guys that did it. I don't know who else really it was. It could have been like Russell, and it could have been like Jimmy Gestapo, Billy Psycho, Wrecking Machine. It was all these old school guys.
Wrecking Machine was a legend in New York and Boston.
I used to go up to Boston with him. That's why I asked you about Keith and Adam and I think Pierce. I asked about those guys. I'm like, I used to come up there all the time. John Wrecking Machine, Billy. We broke a window. I'm like, John, it's minus 30 degrees outside. We're in Keith's house. And he breaks the window in the living room, wrestling me. And I'm like, you idiot. And he's like, we're going to die. He's like laughing. I'm like, we're going to die. It's not funny. He's like, Billy, we shouldn't be next to each other. We're cold. I'm like, get away from me. And my sleeping bag was like 1.5 feet too short. I had like a kid's sleeping bag. So I'm all the way down like this with my leg pulled up. I'm like, fucking wrecking machine, you idiot.
Yeah.
He's like, babe, you're gonna die. That's terrible. But there's been different things that have happened with that guy. But Pitt was different.
Yeah. So you kind of stood up for them, and then what they do? Tap you to like be in a band or something? Like, it seemed like did it happen?
I keep forgetting where we're at. I'm just all beer.
That's what I'm here for. I'll bring it back.
Really, what happened was, I walked up to them that day, and I said to them, to Scotty, and then you guys, I'm like, you guys okay? They're like, yeah, we're okay. Thank you. I'm like, no problem. And they're like, I hear you're doing some kind of hardcore band. He goes, yeah. And I go, do you need a bass player? He goes, no, we got a bass player. We need a singer. And I said, hey, dude, I'll sing. And Scotty, and I'll never forget this, he said to me, can you sing? I said, no, but I don't play bass either, and I just got off a fucking stage. So I think I'm qualified. And that's exactly how it happened, and those are the exact words.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't know how to sing.
Yeah.
So it was just a simple offering that turned into a nightmare. There were good times, don't get me wrong, and I don't want to harp on bad.
Sure, yeah.
I just, different people, we grow apart.
Yeah.
Pretty overrated, right?
What's that?
Scotty.
I mean, I don't want to go there.
I don't want to edit shit. I don't have to edit shit. And now, because Johnny Real was making me have to edit shit.
I'm a rock kid, I can say.
Everyone to each their own. I don't agree with how people treat their fans if they treat them wrong. And I'll leave it at that. And I don't go beyond that.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
So after that, you went out, did the record, did a very short tour, and then how did SOD end and MOD stop for you?
Funny thing was, MOD was around for 2 years before SOD even happened.
Oh, okay.
MOD was my band from 1982 out of high school.
Okay.
And it was Rob Kabula that gave me the name. Because he went from, here's what happened. Here's how interchangeable New York hardcore was. I started to sing in a band called Hinckley's Fan Club. And it was guys from New Jersey, and the singer left because he went to college. And they were playing punk, and they changed the name to Hinckley's Fan Club, it was Hinckley's Fan Club. And I was singing for me, Rob Kabula on bass, a friend of ours, Anthony, I don't remember his last name, on guitar, and Rich the drummer, who was from Jersey. Now, this winds up morphing into a new band when I get a guitarist, and we wind up having a guitarist from the Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and it winds up being, you ready? Alex Kynan. So Alex Kynan says, Billy, I'm not a fan of Hinckley's. Hinckley. I get it. I'm just singing for it. I go, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to come up with a new name. He goes, there's a girl I know out in New Jersey. Why don't you go ask her? He told me about this girl, Lisa Batts, and get the name. She has a great name. And I talked to her, and she said, no problem, Billy, you can use it. Yeah. And it was Cause for Alarm. And so I started Cause for Alarm with Alex Kynan, Rob Kabula, and Rich the drummer.
No shit.
Rich the drummer left, and I left because Robbie Crib Crash came in to do Cause for Alarm because he wanted to go play, and he was like punk rock Antichrist guy. So now he's in there, I'm gone. And Alex kind of moves on with Keith Burkhardt. So now you got Cause for Alarm, and they're playing all the songs that we wrote together. And they're playing some Hinckley Fan Club songs in there. Now I'm out of a gig, and the band called Zoo Crew is switching their name to Agnostic Front. And their bass player, Diego, if I got it correct, isn't going to be playing bass anymore. And the bass player from the Psychos, who's Roger Moret, is going to replace him. John Watson is replacing the singer.
Yeah.
And he replaced John Watson from being bass on the Psychos, they're singing on AF. And then I got asked to play bass
In the Psychos.
in the Psychos. So I played on the Psychos demo, the One Big City compilation. And then I left to do MOD full time. Now we are in 1983, 84. And I met those guys from Anthrax and SOD and Metallica. And everything's starting to come together and culminate. And I'm taking this project that I wanted to do, and I started it, you ready? With Alex Kynan. And we just couldn't get it. It became too technical. It was a bunch of dudes like Zoe and guys that you really didn't know they played with, Psycho Sluts from Hell. I think Zoe played with on bass. Some weird, really weird situations where there was kind of cliquey involvement with preferred bass players and preferred guitarists, but there was no preferred style. It was like we can play really cool riffs, and there was no direction. So that's where I got lost in that era.
Sure.
But it was pre-SOD, and I never landed it, and I was like, I'm not going to do this stuff like this. It's too metal, it's way too contrived. But it's a weird New York hardcore fusion there of history that very few people know of.
No, and that's why I think it's important to talk about, because it's interesting stuff, and people should know the pedigree of things.
Yeah, I mean, it was a remarkable time.
And that tradition of like band sharing members and coming and going and everything, that lasted forever. Because even into like the 80s and 90s, like in New York bands now, it's still like that. It's like members and coming and going, and
you can join. There you go.
But yeah, man. So what was some of the how much touring did MOD do, like, off that first record?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't much.
Yeah.
I did one tour because it was the only thing I was obligated to. And I kind of had some personal issues with a couple people in the band. And I wanted to get out of it. I wanted to start clean and break free because it wasn't what I wanted to do. And it's what I kind of got cornered into doing. And while it was a lot of fun, there was a lot of misconceptions there, and I didn't want to kind of harbor ill feelings. I wanted to move on. And I moved on at times, and every once in a while I gave one of the guys, Timmy, a chance to jam, and his riffs were very specific, but he never excelled beyond being able to play a basic thing on guitar. You need to be able to play guitar with me, like rock guitar. Not like I'm stop now. It's my dog crying. Not like of course. It's not like it's like Warrant or anything, or I need Warren DeMartini for Rat. I don't need that. But there's a difference between a guy that can play and a guy can hammer, and a guy that understands his instrument, which is fun sometimes in between songs. And that's where all the fun and skill comes in, where you can jam and do stupid shit, and joke around and I mean, MOD was almost like a sideshow at times for Vegas. It became larger than life. Like my character was just like it became literally Vegas.
Yeah, it did. But that's the thing. So with that, on the road or whatever, were there any like standout shows or experiences that, like, you talked about the stuff that sucks, but what were some of the good things or some of the more memorable things?
I mean, I remember playing for the first time San Francisco. And here we are at the Warfield Memorial, which is a legendary place where Bill Graham presents did like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors. He did the Grateful Dead. He promoted the best shows, the Mamas and the Papas, Fleetwood Mac, Jefferson Airplane, everybody. He promoted fucking everybody. Bob Dylan, Jackson Browne, you name it. He did everybody in that era. And this is a company doing Exodus. They manage Exodus. BGP presents. Bill Graham presents. And we're playing the most legendary place in California. Shut up. Called the Warfield Memorial, and it's beautiful. Pardon me. Now we're out in San Francisco, San Francisco. We're out in San Francisco. And we're at this fucking place. And I'm like, wait a minute. We're playing and these people are in their seats. They're like, yeah! Fucking A! I'm like, man, I'm fucking... Shut that door and save my AC, V. Well, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Now we stop at their song. I'm like, how you all doing? They're like, ah. I'm like, listen, I heard San Francisco was awesome. They all went, yeah. I heard your scene's fucking crazy. Ah, you people are standing there in your seats. I think that sucks. And they're like, fuck you. I'm like, no, fuck you. I drove 3,000 miles because I heard you guys were sick. Get the fuck out of those seats and get down to this stage. And I turned around and I go, the hate tank. And there's like 500 people running like this. It was like insanity. And I remember people jumping down off the balcony. Security's like, fuck this. They all ran to the side of the stage. And now underneath the Warfare Memorial is BGB Presents with Exodus. So now Exodus is down there having this party, and Tony Isabella, that's their manager, who works for BGP, is down there. They're throwing a party. They went all the way around, and now they're back home in San Francisco, and they're going to crush it. And there they are underneath the Warfare Memorial, and you have 2,000 people jumping, running across a hollow stage, hollow ground, and they think it's an earthquake underneath because they hear and they all ran up the stairs to stand on the side of the stage to see if the building was coming down. And we're up there rocking and they're stage diving, and that's never allowed in this place. And I remember everyone just standing there, like 100 people, and we finished. I go, thank you, good night, Baron. And it ended, and it was just an amazing show. It really was an amazing thing to do and to see happen. And I remember everyone went back downstage, and I turned around and I'm talking to everybody, and as I come off the stage, there's my friend Debbie Obono. And of all the people in the music industry, Debbie Obono is the one I miss only. Debbie was awesome. So there's Debbie Obono, who managed everyone from Exodus to Violence to Forbidden to 40 Grit. She took care of everyone. God bless you. I love Debbie Obono. I miss her. She's standing there on the side of the stage with her friend Angie. And there's this guy standing there. And I go up to talk to her. And she's like, Billy, that show was great. And I go, Debbie, thank you. And this guy steps forward. He goes, young man, that was entertaining, young man. Well done. And I go, thanks, pal. And he walked away. And I'm like, holy shit. And she's like this, staring at me like, oh my God, did that just happen? I go, Debbie, what's up? She goes, Billy, do you know who that was? I said, no. I go, who was it? She goes, Billy, that was Bill Graham. I'm like, are you serious? That was Bill Graham? She goes, yes, that was Bill Graham. I said, who's Bill Graham? I didn't know who he was. And she put her hands on my face. She's like, oh, you're so innocent sometimes, but it was a beautiful moment. It was Bill Graham Presents. That was an amazing moment. It was Bill Graham himself. Said to me, that was entertaining, young man. That was entertainment. That's a remarkable moment. Yeah. There was a bunch of those things that happened like that. That's the kind of stuff that mattered to me, though. Yeah. It wasn't like how big a show was.
It was the energy of the show.
And it was just something special, tripping a moment. And I was like, oh, there's always something. It's always that little stupid memory that has such immense value. I'll give you another one. And these are like memories that you have to see because they don't really equate well in a book. And I'm sitting there and I pull up to the Milwaukee Metalfest, and there's Exodus tour bus behind SOD's tour bus. And I just lost my oh shit, my mic.
No, it's all right.
No, I got it, don't worry. Check, motherfucker.
year Milwaukee Metalfest?
I don't know, like 97.
Okay.
So there I am at the Milwaukee Metalfest. I have no house. My apartment burnt down. My studio burnt down. I'm homeless. I'm in Hoboken, and my studio's chained shut. And my cats are in the hospital, and I gotta leave to go on the road to go to SOD. But I didn't complain about it. I did it. I had nowhere to go anyway. At least I had a tour bus with a bed. So there I get out of the tour bus, and I'm standing outside the Milwaukee Metalfest going, this sucks. I already see this sucks. And I see the tour bus behind me move. The door opens, and I see this. I see a guy wearing glasses, a huge bushy head. He's wearing a hockey jersey, hockey shorts that are short to like the thighs, to like this big, the legs. It almost looks like a bad cartoon character from like Freak Freddy, Fat Freddy's Cat, one of them things. And there's fucking Paul Bailoff, and I see him, and he's just doing this. He's like totally fucking out of his mind. And I'm like, yo, Paul, what's up? And he looks at me and he does this. I go, yo, Bailoff, what's up? He looks at me, he goes like this. Starts working on his glasses. I'm like, you motherfucker, I know this guy. Shut my door. I go, yo, Bailoff, what's up? He goes, what? I go, Bailoff. I go, Paul, man, you don't remember me? What's up, brother? He goes, oh, I'm sorry, man. I just woke up. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. I'm like, yeah, man. Good to see you, man. Thanks a lot, buddy. Chris, you fucking dirty bastard. I was like, all right, Bailoff. Good. There's a lot of great stories.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's a good one.
But yeah, dude.
I don't have a ton of like rockin' stories.
No. It's not about that. Just for people to know what were some of the things that were important to you or fun for you or stood out for you.
That was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember playing a stage, literally standing there, and the guitarist, who was Tony Potato from Whiplash, steps out on the wing of this stage. I guess they made it out of milk crates, and they extended it with a board on top of it. Now, this is a ghetto club in Germany, and it's MOD touring in '94. And I remember stepping on it, one foot in the Philly going like this. Like, don't step on this construction. It's like that TikTok guy, Mr. George, how much you pay for the new guy? $20? It's too much, Mr. George. Yeah, he no good. Yo, this fucking stage shook like Jello, like ballistics gel. And I stood on it, and I'm like, no way. And I kind of walked off, and Tony Potato comes around the side, and you're and the whole fucking stage, and he's like, he's laying down on his back like a turtle, on his back with his feet. He's like, help me! I'm like, I ain't fucking climbing down there, man. It was the funniest shit. So they stepped on it. I'm like, somebody's gonna bite the dust.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna be me.
So what when you guys came back, you said like that record you guys, I remember coming out, and I remember I was like, because I follow a lot of things in the threads of the world of things that are going on in the world, and it seemed like the last record, like you said, had a little more New World Order element to it. Like how did that kind of come about? Like what was going on and marinating in that hiatus in between that made you want to do a new record and kind of go that way?
Well, it's not a ton of that. That's basically the song.
Yeah, but that was the song that was hit and was released.
Yeah,
because I remember hearing that all over satellite radio and stuff when that came out.
Right. There's the thing about the record is it's designed to be punk rock.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a record that was this specifically crossover, and that would have been what I called the trilogy records. This is the third one. The crossover of the trilogy is Crossover, and that was Red, White, and Screwed. That record was a very crossover sounding record, where it was written specifically like metal, but played thrashy with hardcore lyric style.
Yeah.
Busted Broken American was more hardcore punk, where it had hardcore, but it had a lot of melody in it because it was still punk rock, like bands like, like the False Prophets and stuff like that, where they were still doing the UK subs, singing, whoa, and stuff like that was very prominent back in 78, Dead Boys, Ramones, stuff like that. Blondie, they all had a melody to it, and it was still punk rock and raucous.
Yeah.
It had a feel to it. And that's the one thing I liked, it had attitude. But that record was definitely more of a punk rock, New York hardcore punk record.
Yeah.
I wanted to give props to that beginning era. And then this is strictly metal. So this new record is literally thrash metal, but it's only 5 songs. And it's written specifically for an era. So think of it like this. There's times when you see these cult pictures and they're kind of goofy, but there's times when you see cult films and they're actually a period piece, like from the 50s and the 60s, and they pull it off. And it has a vibe that's very specific. And once you get into the frame of mind of watching that period film, you also now say, what to yourself? Is that even believable in that period style film? And that's where they find themselves stuck. Where guys that really do it well, they don't go beyond the parameters of what you can and cannot do in that period specifically end. And they're very purist about it. And that's kind of like what I wanted to do with the thrash metal stuff now, which is very 1985. It's very old Slayer, very old Exodus, even a little bit of Metallica, but not New York in a way that it reflects anything New York City. Yeah. But it was literally about the heart of thrash metal, which is not New York. It's literally San Francisco in LA.
So did you guys go as far as to get old equipment to use to record and stuff? Or?
No, we haven't. Back then I used Marshall, and back then we used, SVT and drum sets. I mean, it was just a live demo, but it came out pretty good. And it has a specific vibe. If I put it on, you're going to hear, 85, guaranteed all day long. You hear Haunting the Chapel. You'll hear, Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. You'll hear Metallica, Kill 'Em All. You'll hear Megadeth, Killing Is My Business. You'll hear all those old records, Forbidden. You'll hear, Diamond Head. You'll hear all those bands. And they're all in there. Heathen, Waz Rocket. They all have a little bit of that metal thing going on. And this has a little bit very specifically towards specific things.
It is lyrically, did you write of that, same thing, of that era, or are you addressing new stuff? Or?
Well, funny. So, I mean, some of it I literally addressed the thought of it being 1985.
Yeah.
So it's 1985 was the year. Drive my Camaro, drinking a beer. Something like that. There's a song that it has that
Yeah. That's cool. So
I didn't take it too serious.
Yeah.
In other words, I wanted it to be that era where some songs are serious and they're over serious. Like this song called Field of Flowers. And it's about, a serial killer. And he talks about how he wants to wear his skin and dance around in his blood. But it's totally Slayer. And there's that one line that repeats, that everyone repeats it. Gonna wear your skin, dance in your fucking blood. It's so Slayer.
Yeah.
He goes, he goes, look into these eyes. I am your fucking death. Brutality arise as I choke out your breath. Broken bones bring pain. Bashed in fucking brains. A trail of blood where dragged. I mean, that's totally Slayer.
Yeah.
Every move you make, why I contemplate. Which brutal death I choose, should I eviscerate?
So did you learn to do the high long screams?
No.
But say, if you're doing 85, man, you know, the San Francisco stuff, you might have to throw a couple in here.
I'm always prepared, bro.
What's the plan for that? Like, do you have like a label you're working with? Are you going to put it out yourselves? Or?
Well, that's the thing. You know, there's a big, huge conundrum known as Billy Milano's life around MOD, and I just roll with it. I honestly feel like this. I'm going to take it, I personally believe, and just release it for free. Yeah. Just put it out as a download, and if I ever tour it, I got friends that'll make vinyl for it. And then I'll do it as like a 7-song EP vinyl. I don't want to do... I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'm kidding myself, and there'll be someone interested in it. I'm not. I just want to have some fun.
That's the point, right? Like, it's like you said from the beginning. It's like, this should be fun.
Well, the whole thing is it should be rewarding.
Yeah.
And for me, it has to be at least believable. And if I'm not going to enjoy it, and I know I'm not going to put on, chains and bullet belts with spikes. That's
maybe
not my.
Maybe you should.
I look like the guy, like the third guy in the Legion of Doom.
What's your process like when you write? Like, do you wait to have like music and then do you write music? Like, do the both?
I write so much music on acoustic guitar. I've never been an acoustic guitar. I hate them. I just don't like them. But I play acoustic every day, simply because it's a skill that you have to be able to transfer. It's like this. My process of writing is, when I feel it in my soul and my hands, I do it. When I don't want to push it. I don't want to fake it, and I also don't want to be trying to fill a quota. I need a song. I don't work like that. You know, if it was that easy, I'd say I need $1 million and it'd show up. Right. It doesn't work like that for me. I'm kind of a purist, but I'm also a prick about it. But most of the time, I have a basic idea of a riff. I can feel a thought of it. Like when I do stuff for the solo project I'm working on. The solo project has a totally different kind of feel, almost like pub rock, where it's just like drinking beers, clanging glasses, and it's not super like my name is McFenton, I'm dancing around, and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit more like fuck you, bless you. Bless you. It's a little bit more like fuck you, and let's just celebrate and drink and say fuck everything.
Fuck you, let's drink.
Exactly. And it's kind of like simple, but it's kind of like progressive in a way because it's something I haven't done. And I'm finding that songs have their own identity when I'm writing it. I'm like, why does that sound like that? It reminds me of something. And I would just add to it, and it would be like, all right. But I never really, bless you, I never do the process of saying I have a complete thought. It always evolves. I don't like to be stuck. Plus, a lot of times I'm wrong on this kind of process, and I just let it happen. I definitely learned to be different. I'm not so purist when it comes to catalog. I don't want to change that riff. I'll give it a shot. Depends on who's playing drums. Like Mike Fury is a fucking animal. Playing with Mike Fury, I remember playing with Mike Fury in a room. We were playing Russia, and I'm out there in Russia playing with MOD, and I'm like, you know what? No one's gonna know this fucking band. This is bullshit. This is a hamstring. We're gonna show up, and it's gonna be Vladimir Putin in a room, right? And he's gonna say Hillary Clinton says hello, and they're gonna kill me. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be something like KGB related. But the fact of the matter is, they were insane.
Eastern Europe, bananas.
I mean, I've always done great in Europe, in Eastern Europe. But they're insane for me. And in Greece, I love Greece. As you can see, my wall has a lot of Greece on it. I'm part Greek.
Fury always says that you have a real old school style of writing still.
Oh, yeah.
Like even though he'll say that you don't do like click tracks or any of that other kind of any of the new style of recording or whatever.
Right. What I do is I try to purpose like the understanding of a framework of something. A standardized framework always works well. And I've always told Mike, as long as you get major thoughts and major accents and this and that, and you're in the pocket, then 90% of everything you're doing, already. I mean, this is almost the entire song. It's only transitions of big things and breaks and stupid stuff that we all find together. And I just did a lot of that with MOD when I did the Busted Broken American record. And look, I did even more of it with like Mastery. There's a record no one talks about. I did a record that was specifically a metal record. It was called Mastery in the Key of Kill. And it's the most brutal metal hardcore record I've ever done in my life. I sang on it. I arranged, most of it. I did the guitars with my friend Kelly Fitzsimmons from Houston. It was two guys from Canada, Marcus Armelini. It was his band Mastery, and Mike Harshaw, who played drums for Annihilator. Now that record, In the Key of Kill, is so metal and so hardcore together. It's brutal. It's like the most progressive thing I've ever done. And yet, people don't even listen to it. They don't even know it exists because the industry is so, I don't know, exclusive now again. It's actually a good thing.
Why do you say that?
Because at the end of the day, now people are getting signed. They're actually selling stuff.
Okay.
So, there was this thing with Atlantic Records. It was called Black Friday, I believe it was. And they gave them until this certain day to make sure that anything they kept as a project could pay for itself with the budgets they had. And they weren't allowed to use the catalog's money to promote these bands indefinitely. Your band you're promoting has to make money, find a way to make money with it. And that means promote it smartly and just don't piss money away. And so that was one of the ways that Atlantic Records changed their catalog. He said, I'm not giving you any more of that money to promote that band. You get this budget, get it done. You know what I'm saying? You can buy as many ads as you want. If you got, $100 million, but now you ain't got $100 million. Now you got $250,000. Do your fucking job. Interesting how business facilitates business. You guys done? Everyone's exhausted.
I gotta get I'm gonna get a lift. Sean's gonna give me a lift.
It's just right down the road, so if I can drop Johnny and just come right back if you got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah. Just get that done real quick.
You want to smoke this real quick?
It's all you. It's my present.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
John, good to see you.
All right, we're back. So yeah, man. We talked about offline. We were talking about small mutual friends, and shout out to Pete Thoreau, man.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Good Providence promoter, real dude. Helped one of the dudes that helped bridge the gaps between metal and hardcore for sure.
He actually helped me with a SOD show when someone stole Danny Loker's stuff. He actually got it back, including all the money.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, I'm like, Loker, you don't even know how lucky you are.
Yeah.
But it was big respect to him. I always think of him. And I mentioned him. That was funny.
Yeah.
You knew him.
Oh, yeah. Yes. We worked together for a long time. We were good friends. Like I said, we started out as enemies and then became good friends. But sometimes that's how the best friends are, formed. Like you start out as enemies and then realize there's a lot more commonality. And then
he was a really good guy.
But that was something you were kind of on the forefront of, man. Just like not to keep going back to it, but I remember those days where punk was kind of punk and hardcore was kind of its own little thing, but more aligned with punk, and metal was a separate thing.
Yeah,
at first it was a little rocky kind of melding at first, and then once it did,
a lot of that happened because of a specific club, mainly L'Amour's.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think, CBS is where this all happened. No, CBS is where it maybe was conceived.
Yeah.
But it was always L'Amour's that when L'Amour's brought. That's Mike and Joe Parente. Big promoters, big shout out to Mike Parente and Joe Parente, the Parente brothers from L'Amour's. Now those guys took the Cro-Mags into their club.
Yeah.
That's when shit got real. And it was this band Biohazard that was happening. And people said, wait a minute. My dog's got to go to the bathroom. It's all right. They were saying, wait a minute. This band, let's put them on with Nuclear Assault. Let's mix the bands.
Yeah.
And so really, L'Amour's in Brooklyn, the Parente brothers are the people that came up with the master plan to mix the bands as well. Where the crowd now went from like Metallica and, Heathen shirts, and they went from that and Las Rocket and Megadeth shirts to Agnostic Front. Yeah. They started to find these other bands.
Crumbsuckers.
Yeah, totally happened like that. And it was those guys that are the main cause of it, I would think, at least in the New York area.
Yeah.
They hastened it on.
Yeah.
Whether or not they sat down and said to themselves, this is how we're going to fix this or do this. Or maybe they just thought, let's give it a shot. What the fuck do we got to lose? And sometimes that's the best way to not overthink it and let it be whatever it's going to be. All right, now stop, honey.
You want to take her out?
No.
She just wants to be on the show.
No, go Plots. Plots. Come on now. Plots down. Stay. Good. Let's continue.
Yeah. So what do you miss about the old days, or miss about New York?
I mean, food.
Those times, or New Jersey. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I miss any of it.
Yeah.
The beauty of it was that it was there and it happened in a moment. Yeah. So I don't want to sit there and say, oh, I wish I could do that again.
Yeah.
Or that was great. I think they were great because it was a different mindset then. Like I said, like walking around in a bad neighborhood, you weren't scary or you weren't scared, not because you were tough, because you didn't know. You didn't know really what was going on. And at some point, there was a comfort just walking around in a bubble. Knowing that you only cared about the pizza on the corner after you're walking through, 5 of the worst streets in New York City.
Yeah.
Because it's saving you fucking 10 minutes walking.
Yeah.
You don't know the rules. And people are like, look at this motherfucker. And you're just bopping through the fucking park. It's just weird shit like that. Then it just was odd about the city in the moments. But I don't think there's anything that I could want to relive there. I don't think I have it anymore in me to do it.
Yeah.
But it was a remarkable moment.
But it's not even like that anymore over there.
No, hell no. Dude, the Lower East Side is the East, they call it the East Village. It's fucking ridiculous. It's some of the hottest real estate down there.
Yeah.
And there was, a guy dead in a car. I remember one of the first times I went there, and he's in there junked out dead. And I'm like, man, I think that guy's dead.
Yeah.
And he just sat in a car for 2 days dead. And I said up to the cop, I'm like, I think there's a dead guy in the car. And he goes, oh, yeah, we know about it. We'll get to it later. And it was that simple. It was like, wait a minute. Did you just say, what? Yeah. You're like, you're not from Jersey. Stop now. I'm from Jersey. And this is like remarkable.
Yeah.
Just
Wild West.
You're like, the guy's dead.
Whatever we get
there.
To. Yeah.
Someone might be looking for him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they towing his car.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it was just, for me, it was bizarro.
Yeah.
It was world bizarro.
Yeah.
It was really weird to just see the, I don't know. The apathy. It was just like, whatever.
Yeah. It was apathetic because everything was so wild that nothing was out of the realm of possibility. I don't know. It was just, you kind of just expected anything.
Yeah.
So nothing was fazing people really as much.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a really bizarre kind of moment in time. Really bizarre. Where it was just like, it was undefined everything. What was illegal, what was legal, what was normal, what wasn't normal. Things that were weird, things that would be, in my town, they'd be like, what the fuck? You know, seeing a dude walking around in high heels, weird shit like that. You were like numb to punk rock, spike hair, spike jackets, homeless people. It was just like a really bad Mad Magazine episode where it was drawn to be the Lower East Side, and it's horrible, and it's everything you could hate. Hey, clock down, Sophie. Get on the bed. You can edit that out, right?
Yeah.
Good. There she goes. Sorry about that. It was just really bizarre. This, it's like a visual. It was almost like Quentin Tarantino's mind. What this amalgamation of this area was. The Lower East Side, Avenue 8, from like what turned out to be Little India now, but like Avenue 4, Avenue A and 4th Street, or even down to the Bowery, but up to like 13th. It was just bizarre, but there was that area between 9th and 4th that was just teeming with Bizarreville.
Yeah.
And it was just so unregulated and raw, but it was amazing. It just itself was amazing it was almost like watching that movie Blade Runner. Remember Blade Runner with Harrison Ford when they fly into the city? He's walking in the city and it's inside the planet. The city is like the store after thing after car after wagon.
Yeah.
You like you literally have to navigate the streets because they're so filled.
Yeah.
Now the sidewalks back then were packed with everything, and people were everywhere there, and it was just a lot of disarray. There was no organization to it. It felt really wild, and like it needed to be organized. It was just so much down there, and it was an area probably again between 4th and 8th that was just alive in a TV show. It was cool.
Yeah,
So
spawned some good fucking music.
yeah, I mean, a lot of New York hardcore, which came from everybody's borough, found itself in Avenue A and A7, and it found itself at 2+2, which was the club after A7. And it found itself at CBGB's. And there were clubs in Long Island and clubs in Queens, places I wasn't aware of, or I may have frequented one time.
Yeah.
And everyone had their place of origin. But it was always A7. It was like the desired club. And it was cool. But the guy Dave that ran it, and they were very good people. And I like those people. But, it was also a moment in time. It was cool, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just like 1985 was a moment in time, right? Like, there's all these different moments, different places, different times that capture different things.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's definitely a thought that, that era is kind of really, truly venerated now. And, when you look at how big and how far AF's come and Sick of It All, like, here's one of the funny things. Like, Sick of It All really is the band that set it off for everybody. And I heard they were going to Malaysia. And I remember Roger talking about this. People talk Singapore. And I'm like, so where are they going? Are they going to Malaysia? Or are they going to Singapore? Like, I never even thought that far away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it was a remarkable thought that this band from New York that plays hardcore is going all the way over there.
Yeah.
It's way the fuck
crazy.
over there. And I never had the desire to go to South America or any of those areas.
I was going to ask you about that because that's a big place now for that's like the New Europe almost for touring.
Yeah, I just...
No.
No.
Well,
you ever see that movie Alive? You know what's going to happen, right? You know what they're going to try and eat, right? They're going to try to eat the porterhouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to eat flanking beans. They're going to eat the porterhouse. So there's no fucking way. I'm just not a fan of flying. And at this age, I don't really have desires like I used to for when it comes to doing MOD or SOD, even my cover band, the United Forces cover band, which is on Instagram and all that shit, my SOD tribute band. That stuff itself is driven specifically for festivals. Now, I'm not going to tour with my cover band.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could see...
But doing a one-off or a couple of festivals.
I don't know. Let's say I get 10 shows out of it. Am I going to complain? No. As long as it's the same dudes, everyone's totally cool. A couple guys from Malevolent Creation and a guy from Annihilator. But, it has a specific design to only be that. You really can't do anything with a cover band.
Yeah.
You can't write a song. I could, but why?
Yeah.
I'd rather play someone else's song that people like, which is an SOD song.
Yeah.
But at that point, it has a specific purpose. So there's no real investment in it. And here's the other thing. There's also no expectations from it. Yeah. I don't have to prepare, to put my dog away in someone's house for 2 months. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not me.
Yeah.
But and that's why I concentrate more on me.
Yeah. Well, where can people find out more about what's going on? Do you have any social medias?
Mainly my stuff is this. I've had the same guy doing my website since 1997. His name is Shauka, and it's milanomosh.com. And there's so much content on there, and it's always free for everybody. And he did such a great job. He's working on stuff right now. He has all the links for the United Forces cover band, the SOD cover band. He has any updates with anything I've done with producing, even with photos from fans and live shows. There's so much content on it. I go on it. I'm like, dude, don't you ever stop. He's like, no, Billy, I really love this. Yeah, he just loves doing it.
Cool.
But it's milanomosh.com. And then we have Mike Fury runs the MOD page on Instagram. I don't ever do that.
Yeah.
I do my own shit.
Yeah.
But that's it. Pretty much milanomosh.com is the way to go.
Cool. Anything else we didn't hit on? We went through a lot. And I think it was good and interesting and gives people more insight into things.
Yeah, it was definitely, I don't know, we're at that point in life where life is life.
Yeah.
We're at that point in time, and I just wish everyone well.
Mother's Day is almost here, and you can get her the most beautiful time-tested gift around, a watch she can wear every day from Movement. Whether your mom is into classic dress watches, rare and refined ceramics, or tried-and-true bestsellers, Movement has something she'll love. And right now, everything at Movement is up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale. A watch is a gift that celebrates all the time you spent with Mom, and a Movement watch is even more than that. Movement uses industry-leading materials for their fresh modern watch designs, from technically complex ceramics to vintage-inspired style, all for an incredible value your wrist and wallet will both love. And with one-size-fits-all convenience and fast free shipping and returns, it's a stress-free shopping experience. Save big on the best Mother's Day gift ever with Movement. Get up to 50% off site-wide during their Mother's Day sale at mvmt.com. Again, that's up to 50% off at mvmt.com.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.